Hello everyone. We are going to be focusing on sketch models, and to do that we'll be carrying on from the tutorials that we were using about using a scalpel safely and correctly and changing those blades often. So if you haven't already, please watch that video. We will be continuing using the scalpel today. As well as that, we're going to be using some of the materials that we were practicing cutting last time. So I have some cardboard here, some scraps of paper, some pieces of mount board. So I'm going to be using all of these materials to combine them together and make a sketch model or a conceptual model. Sketch models are sort of three-dimensional experiments that we can make quite quickly and cheaply to understand what we're thinking. What's going on in our heads. Sometimes using a sketchbook is great, but then following that you want to start to turn something physical, and how do you go about doing that? And sketch models are a good place to start. We won't be using any glue or any gluing at all. What we will be using is masking tape. So masking tape, I think, is a very important thing for this process in terms of the type of tape you need. I would avoid using sellotape. It's not a great material to use for model making. So the clear sort of sticky plasticky tape, I think leave that somewhere else. And masking tape, the reason why it's a lot more suitable to use, I think maybe if we can zoom in, we can look at this in a bit more detail. The front of the masking tape has got a lot more of a sort of textured feel. It's not transparent like sellotape, and you can rip it quite easily, so you don't need to cut it with a knife or scissors. You can rip it into lots of parts. As well as that, it's not super sticky. You can see I've got it on the ends of my fingers here. You can see it's not sort of sticky at all, so it means that you can actually change things to make them exactly as you want them to be. So that's why I would recommend using masking. So what I'm going to do is just stick them on the edge of this cutting mat so I can use them again in a second. The same as before, I'll be using a cutting mat for a number of reasons discussed in the previous tutorial. I'm going to start by, I'm going to be making a sort of an example sketch model today. So at the moment, I'm thinking something that maybe has lots of straight lines that can start to be combined together, but maybe some sort of more curved elements as well. So actually, when you're thinking about the materials that you're cutting, think about the qualities of these materials. The paper is very thin, it can be curved around, it can be folded, whereas the mount board is quite rigid. So that you might want to use that for sort of a more structural position within your design. But anyway, I'm going to start by just cutting some of this corrugated card for me to use. So again, I'm using ruler with a metal edge. Would be 2 to 3 cuts. And it needs just one more little cut at the end. I might just square that off. I think the first thing I'm going to do is just do some rapid cutting. So I've got everything I need, and then I can work on sort of sticking everything together after that. And I think this little circle is quite interesting. So I think that's the thing when you are working with found or recycled objects. It actually does, it gives you ideas as you're going along. And I think I need to just cut through this end bit. I think whilst I'm doing this, just also remember blade safety. Keep them out of reach from any children or family members. when you're not, this isn't cutting for some reason. There we go. So I have a few pieces that I'm going to work with here. I might cut this one down a little bit. And then I can start to see what objects I have and what I might use together. So I've got a few bits of paper. I've got some mount board, some cardboard. There's another piece of mount board here. I think having a base might be quite helpful for this one. So I'm going to cut a bit more of the cardboard because that's quite a nice sturdy material for the base. Okay, so I've got my base, and again, like I said earlier, no glue involved with this. I think now I'm not going to be using my blade at the moment, so I'm going to just put that to the side so it's safely out of the way. You might want to consider just putting some masking tape over the top of it, or this might be a good time to change the blade and dispose of it safely. And then what I will do is just have some pieces of masking tape ready, so my hands might get quite full in a moment, and we can go from there. So I might actually start by just grouping some of these materials together to make some walls, perhaps. So these two, for example, I might just start by putting some masking tape here, and suddenly I've got something that's starting to stand up, just about, almost. And then I'm going to add some more, use these pieces from earlier on. That can go like this. So you can see we're starting to now create something that's a lot more physical. There might be something that runs across the top. Maybe it sticks out slightly. I'll have it running across the top, and I think this will add, just give some support to to the other elements. I think I'm going to start using my base to stick all of this down. So you can see that I'm just going to stick it on the inside here. There's quite a large piece of masking tape there, so I'm going to rip it. So that's the good thing, you can rip it as you're going along. And just attach that there. So you can see this is incredibly messy, but that's the point of this, is that we want to create something quite quickly to sort of bring an idea across. And it's going to collapse. We need something a bit stronger actually, so I'm going to add this piece of board. Maybe that goes like this. There we go. And it might be that with some materials like this cardboard, for example, it's a bit dusty. So I'm finding that the masking tape keeps unsticking itself. So you might need to use a few more pieces just to help connect these different materials together. And then I might use some paper as well. So I'm actually going to start to use this to create some sort of interesting sort of through space. Maybe that's something like that. You know, you can actually be quite precise with the way that you apply your masking tape. I'm making this sort of very quickly, so it is a bit messy, but that's fine for this. And you can go on and on. What should I do next? There's a piece coming out. And suddenly, you know, we're starting to create this really interesting space. Again, like I said before, it's messy, but it's the next thing after a sketch in the sketchbook, where you start to make this thing three-dimensional, physical. And you know, you can keep going and going and going and adding bits and adding different pieces here. But anyway, I think I'm going to carry on with this and leave you to it. Thank you.